Hello, welcome to the presentation, Unlocking Machine Data and Its Value with a Converged Industrial IoT Hub. I'm Mike Bowers, I'm the Chief Architect at FairCom, and I'm making this presentation for the 2021 London IoT Tech Expo. A little bit about me, I've had a lot of jobs over my career, which has been around 3 decades long so far. A lot of those jobs, as you can see at the bottom, I worked for manufacturing companies. I integrated all kinds of equipment. So I've been working in manufacturing for a very long time. As you can see, I've also written a book, The Pro CSS and HTML Design Patterns, that's been published in 2007. And you can see right now I'm a chief architect at FairCom. I'm heavily involved in databases my entire career. And right now I work for a company that builds and sells a database, which is FairCom. FairCom has been in the database industry for 40 years, and they have operations all over the world, customers in more than 100 countries, and a large presence in the Fortune 100 have selected FairCom and use it. You probably haven't heard of FairCom because FairCom builds an embedded database product that is embedded in other products, and so you don't know about it. But we're used in millions of installations all over the world, thousands of products, and we've been doing it for 40 years. Well, we decided a few years ago to expand our customer base, which is quite large, and you can see a lot of big names here with UPS and IBM and FedEx, Verizon, Commvault. We decided to expand not only throughout Europe, but into the edge space. And the edge space is really an integration challenge. The edge is not the cloud. The edge is everything that's not the cloud. That's the easiest definition. So your phone, your computer, your data center, your office, your hospital, your factory, even a piece of equipment like a dump truck or a bus, or it could be a scooter or a military vehicle. Everything that is outside of the cloud is an edge environment. And you can see there's lots of edge environments. The challenge with edge environments is that businesses need to integrate data that they collect on the edge. In other words, data they collect outside of the cloud. And they need to get that data integrated with other devices on the edge and to get that data into the cloud. Well, that's expensive. Data integration is very expensive. I've been doing this for decades, and it costs projects millions of dollars to integrate data for a factory. You really don't want to pay for software engineers or OT engineers to come in and integrate data because it costs so much, it takes so long, and projects tend to fail because there's so much to do. What you want to do is purchase software that does most of the heavy lifting for you. So that's what FairCom EDGE is. FairCom EDGE is integration software that allows you to build edge apps quickly and inexpensively with little to no code. And because of that, your engineers are doing mostly point and click and configuration to make things connect rather than writing code to do all the work. And that greatly reduces your cost and speeds turnaround of integration projects. That's what FairCom EDGE is designed to do, and it delivers. In the industry, we need more data. To be competitive, we need more data to reduce our costs so we can create better designs and better processes, better equipment lifespan, fewer defects, reduced labor, dynamic customization so that you can dynamically respond to changes on your factory line. These are hard things to do, and it's expensive to collect data, transform data, deliver data, and bridge data across protocols. I mean, just collecting data alone requires people to write code. Then you got to transform that data to get it into some standard. Then you got to deliver it across the factory. You got to deliver it to the cloud. Got to deliver it from the cloud back to the factory. And then you got all these protocols that you have to bridge across: MQTT, OPC UA, REST, SQL. There's a gazillion protocols out there, and you got to bridge across those. That takes time and money. But what if you had a solution that did it automatically? That it automatically collects your data and transforms the data with very little code or no code at all. Delivers the data wherever you need it automatically with no code. Bridges data across protocols automatically. You can reduce your costs and get your solution to market very quickly. That's the goal of FairCom EDGE, and it delivers. FairCom EDGE runs in the cloud. FairCom EDGE runs anywhere, so it also runs on the edge of the network. So it runs on planes and scooters and military vehicles, boats, and equipment in the field. It runs anywhere on the edge and in the cloud. It runs in factories. It runs in smart hospitals. It runs in smart cities. It runs in smart retail. And because it can run all these places, it has the ability to collect the data locally, integrate locally, transform data locally, and then deliver that data to the cloud and do the same thing in the cloud and deliver data back to the edge. Because FairCom Edge can run everywhere, integrate anything, it can transform everything in our lives. So let's talk about what is in FairCom Edge. Well, first off, it has a database. FairCom is a database company. We've been delivering an embedded database for 40 years, highly successful, very fast, very easy to use, does not require a DBA. It's built to be embedded and just work. We also provide connectors, so you can connect out to the cloud, you can connect to ThingWorx, OPC UA. We have a lot of connectors. I'll talk more about that. Also have browser-based applications. We have an MQTT Explorer, a SQL Explorer, a monitoring program. These applications are just single-page apps. You just run them in the browser right off the app server, and then you can communicate with FairCom Edge through these JSON RPC services. We've built a whole bunch of JSON RPC services for you, so you don't have to write them. Everything you need is already built into these services, and these applications can completely remote control everything in the product. Everything in the database and everything in MQTT is fully controlled by the browser-based applications. So let's talk about the MQTT broker. MQTT is the #1 protocol for the edge and for IoT. MQTT is perfect for integration. In the silicon world, back when I was in that industry over 20 years ago, they were using message queues to deliver data from all the equipment to the central programs that run the factory. They were breaking ground in factory integration decades ago. Well, the rest of the industry is now catching up and realizing message queues are the perfect way to integrate factories and industrial IoT and smart cities, smart hospitals, smart retail. MQTT is the perfect protocol for integration because it can push data around so easily. FairCom Edge has its own MQTT broker built in. It's not just some open source thing we threw in the product. We built it from ground up out of our C code with the same engineering skills we provide in our C code database, and we merged them together. So these are tightly coupled. They're not just loosely thrown together in some open source thing. These are built to work together. They're fully integrated. So every time anything comes into MQTT, it goes into the database. Anything that's in the database can go out through MQTT. This tight integration is a game changer for MQTT and for a database. And this is built into FairCom Edge. So you're getting a full-blown MQTT broker and a full-blown database, fully integrated, plus your app server, plus your JSON RPC service, and a REST service. So anytime data goes into the product, it's available to be retrieved through REST. Why is that important? Because when you build custom applications, whether they run out of FairCom Edge or they run somewhere else, you're going to want to get your data out. And REST is the perfect way for IT to get data. Well, it's not the only way for IT to get data. IT loves to get data through SQL as well, and FairCom Edge database is a SQL database. It has full SQL capabilities, so IT can get data out through SQL. We also have built into our product data replication. So you can replicate data from any FairCom Edge instance to any other FairCom Edge instance. You can replicate all data, some data, a couple of tables, or one table, or even just a filtered set of records within a table. You have total control over what's replicated. Other major vendors charge a fortune for it, and it's built into FairCom Edge. One lastly, we have is custom plugins. So you can build, and we can build at FairCom, any kind of extension, a new connector, a new protocol, a new service, you name it, it's easy to just plug in a new feature. And this system is designed to be pluggable. FairCom Edge is a very powerful platform. And you're thinking, well, gosh, do I have to install an app service? Do I have to install an MQTT broker? Do I have to install a database? Do I have to install data replication? Do I have to install these connectors? No. All you do is unzip this product and run it. That's it. Unzip, run. So let's look at where it runs. It runs on Linux, Raspbian, that means Raspberry Pis, Docker, Android, Windows. We built this to be portable and run everywhere. So you can run FairCom Edge on tiny devices, on a huge servers. They can run in anything on gateways, little tiny devices, single board computers. So it runs on its own, and it can run embedded in your app. and it supports almost all the operating systems and hardware. So Intel, ARM, and RISC, so 64-bit, 32-bit, and we run Docker and VMs. FairCom EDGE has a lot of built-in power to integrate your data. So this is where things get really interesting. You can integrate across all these protocols. FairCom EDGE integrates ThingWorx with MQTT, with OPC UA, SQL, JSON, REST API. Any data can come in from any of these protocols and go out through any of the other protocols. That's really important. It's automatic. You don't have to write code. Data flows in from any of these and out through any of these, or through a bunch of these at the same time. Not only can data flow across these protocols, but FairCom EDGE can transform the data as it flows across the protocols. It can store the data and then forward the data later when the protocol or device or an application is available. So it bridges across these protocols, and it can bridge all the way from the edge to the cloud and the cloud back to the edge. And that allows you in your solution to access data anywhere. You can remote in and see all the data being collected real time through REST or through SQL. JSON remote procedure call allows you to push and pull data using SQL inside of JSON or using queries that are similar to MongoDB. So all these different APIs all work well to bridge across the edge and the cloud, automatically transform data, store and forward it, so you can access data at any time, any way, without having to write code to do any of this. FairCom EDGE integrates with little to no code across all those protocols that you see in Industrial IoT. And I want to talk a little bit more about MQTT because this is the most important protocol in IoT. It's the backbone. So it makes everything plug and play. And this is one of the tricks for low-code integration of factories. You want things to be plug and play. And MQTT does a beautiful job of that. And FairCom EDGE is an MQTT broker. So how does MQTT work and how does it make things plug and play? Well, it decouples devices from your applications. So FairCom EDGE, being an MQTT broker, sits in the middle between all your devices and your applications. And the way it works is applications subscribe to topics. So the applications don't really know about the devices. All they do is subscribe to topics. So this one, app 1, subscribes to a topic called sensor 1. So it's really interested in the sensor data published to a topic called sensor 1. App 2 is interested in 2 topics, sensor 1 and sensor 2. An application doesn't really know where the devices are, doesn't know how to talk to them, it doesn't care. It just says, I'm interested in these topics. Now devices publish messages to topics. So this device 1 publishes a message to sensor 1, and the broker gets the message. And notice that the device doesn't send the message to the application, it sends it to the broker. Now MQTT broker sends that same message to all the subscribers. Since app 1 and app 2 both subscribe to the topic sensor 1, both of those applications are going to get that same message. The device doesn't know about the applications. It doesn't know if 100 applications are subscribing to its topics or if one is or no one is. It doesn't care. It just publishes its messages to topics. And if vice versa, the applications don't know about the devices and which devices send messages to which topics. They just subscribe and they get the information they need. That is the secret to silicon manufacturing. That is the secret now that's available to everyone to integrate, is using this decoupling mechanism that MQTT provides. And MQTT does a beautiful job of it. It has client libraries for every major language. It is so easy to implement a client to do the MQTT. Well, here's another example. Device 2 is publishing a message to sensor 2, and in this particular case, only application 2 subscribed to sensor 2, so only application 2 gets it. So this allows flexibility for any kind of device to publish to any topic and any kind of application to subscribe to any topic, and to change that at runtime. As your factory needs to be reconfigured, you just change it. You just change the flow, and messages will automatically flow where they're supposed to go. MQTT does more than just deliver messages to topics. MQTT has store and forward built into it. Store and forward is the concept that if your targets who are subscribing over their 2 messages and topics, if they're not available, what do? The device doesn't care. The device always just publishes messages to the broker. So the broker needs to be available, but the applications can go down. It doesn't matter. But when those applications come up later on, MQTT broker will automatically deliver the messages as if the application were up all along. That is store and forward. And that store and forward capability is key to low-cost integration. The devices don't care, the apps don't care, everyone gets their messages, guaranteed delivery, no matter whether apps are down, devices are down, it all works. Same thing happens with if you have network issues. So in this particular case, these devices are publishing to MQTT, but the network connection to App2 is down. App2 is running just fine, but the network to it is down. So now the MQTT can't deliver the messages, but the devices don't care. They've delivered their messages to the reliable broker who runs on the edge, who's collected the data. Now the broker recognizes it can't connect to App2, so it stores the data. When the network comes back online, then it delivers the message automatically. That automatic detection of things being online and offline, collecting the data and delivering them, that concept of store and forward is built in. It makes integration so much easier. Well, there's even more to the story, and this is unique to FairCom EDGE. The FairCom MQTT broker has a feature that goes a little beyond MQTT because there are times when you have a new subscriber and you want the new subscriber to get some previous data. And so how do you do that? Well, MQTT doesn't have that built in, but FairCom EDGE has an extra feature you can configure. So if App 3 comes along and says, oh, I want topics from Sensor 2, you can configure FairCom EDGE to deliver previously sent messages. Now, App 3's never subscribed before, so a normal MQTT is not going to get the old stuff. But if you want it to, and it's up to you, you don't have to, but if you want it to, you can deliver old messages. So in this particular case, it will deliver the old message to App 3. And if there's 100 old messages, it would deliver them all. You could configure to deliver some of them, all of them. You can put timeframes on them, deliver the last week's worth, and you can control how fast it delivers those messages so you don't flood App 3 with too fast. So store and forward of MQTT is guaranteed data delivery. Now I want to make a point that FairCom EDGE has more protocols than just MQTT, and FairCom EDGE has built into it store and forward for all protocols. So it applies not just to MQTT, but to everything. So store and forward allows your data delivery to be guaranteed. So you have reliable data, and that means data is stored in FairCom's reliable database every time anything comes into FairCom EDGE, it's in its database. Even when the target is offline, even when the network is down, FairCom EDGE will deliver that data. And that's every protocol it supports, not just MQTT. It does this automatically. And so when the target comes online, data gets delivered. And it manages how long you store the data and how fast you deliver it. So it can make sure that you don't overwhelm the targets with too fast. So FairCom EDGE is designed to store and forward data across any remote edge system. It can automatically store the data, collect it locally, and forward it where it's supposed to go to as many places it's supposed to go and as many protocols as you want automatically. That changes the game for data integration. FairCom EDGE also provides an Explorer for MQTT, so you can see what's going on as messages are flowing around. So the layout matches the user's workflow. The user wants to have a dashboard to see what's going on. It tells you every topic, every subscriber. You see a picture of everything, and then you can subscribe to messages. You can publish messages. So in other words, you can do your own subscribing and publishing right in MQTT Explorer just to tap into the flow of messages. And then you can monitor and see the results. So you can, now that you've tapped in, you've subscribed to some messages, you can even publish messages and push messages out yourself, test some things out. You can monitor what's going on. So that's built in. You can start playing with MQTT right out of the box by creating topics, subscribing, publishing, and monitoring. And then you can manage topics. You can add metadata to topics to control how fast they're delivered, to control how long they're stored, to forward topics to other servers and do all kinds of cool things. Lastly, you can manage your data. You can see your data right within here. All the data that has been automatically collected by FairCom EDGE is visible right here in this data screen. So IoT needs more than MQTT because there's more protocols than MQTT, and this is where protocol bridging comes in. So devices and applications talk different languages, and you have to bridge and translate across them, and that's what FairCom EDGE does. So let's go into that. So FairCom EDGE has built-in extendable plugins, a mapping, transform, and decision engine, store and forward replicate engine we talked about, and a web UIs that we've talked about. So it's got this core set of capabilities, and it uses those capabilities to bridge across these protocols. So when you're integrating a factory or a smart hospital, you can use MQTT, OPC UA, REST, JSON RPC, PLC protocols, custom plugins, custom web apps. You can do all of this with FairCom Edge very easily to integrate a factory. So that's integrating within an edge. Then you want to get that data into the cloud, so you want to go send it to the cloud somehow. How are you going to do that? Well, there's different solutions in the cloud. You have data centers that want to talk SQL data. You've got ThingWorx that wants to talk its own proprietary always-on protocol. You got cloud service providers that want to talk MQTT and other proprietary protocols. How do you get your factory data into the cloud? Well, that's again, MQTT does it beautifully because it's all these solutions support MQTT, except ThingWorx doesn't work great with MQTT and the databases don't. So how do you get data into ThingWorx? Well, FairCom Edge provides a ThingWorx connector that reliably gets any data collected on the edge into ThingWorx. That's a big deal because ThingWorx projects fail more often than not because they can't get data out of the factory. It's very hard to do. FairCom Edge makes that very easy to do. So if you're running any of those issues, look at FairCom Edge because you're really surprised at how easy we make it and how reliable we make it because of our store and forward technology. We also have REST APIs, which developers love to integrate with those. So all the developers in the cloud can talk to REST. Wherever REST is running on the edge, they can reach out to it, talk, and get data. They can pull data to the cloud. They have JSON RPC, which is even easier than REST to do the same thing. And then they have SQL through ODBC and JDBC. And so if you have IT folks who love to work with databases, and a lot of IT departments do, we have SQL, full SQL. So every piece of data that comes in is available through SQL. If you have something that we don't provide out of the box that you need, we have custom plugins to make it easy to create another protocol. Cloud integration is very easy to do with FairCom Edge because all the major cloud providers provide MQTT. Microsoft Azure, AWS, Alibaba, Google, IBM, you name them, they all have MQTT services running in the cloud so that FairCom Edge can push data to them and then they can push data to FairCom Edge. So this makes it easy to integrate data from wherever edge you are and get that data into the cloud and vice versa, to get the data out of the cloud back to the edge. And since MQTT is a push protocol, it pushes messages. It's easy to push messages to the cloud, and it's easy to push messages from the cloud to the edge. So you can push data using MQTT and ThingWorx. Those are push protocols. And you can pull data using REST, SQL, and JSON RPC. Those are pull protocols. So here's some examples of how you can automatically use FairCom Edge to bridge across protocols. On the left, you see we have MQTT, OPC UA, REST, and SQL. On the right, we have MQTT, ThingWorx, REST, and SQL. So I'm going to show how data can come in from some protocol on the left and go out through some protocol on the right. For example, MQTT can come in and go out. That's no surprise. Or MQTT can go in and go out to ThingWorx. Now, that's a big one because ThingWorx doesn't provide good capabilities there, but FairCom Edge makes that very easy. MQTT data can come in and go out through REST, which IT folks love, and same with SQL. Notice how this alone, through MQTT, we can bridge the data to SQL, REST, ThingWorx, and MQTT automatically without writing any code. And that's a game changer for factory integration. OPC UA is very popular in factories. That protocol is being implemented in all the new pieces of equipment. And again, the same story. You could come in with OPC UA data and go out to SQL, or go out through REST, ThingWorx, or MQTT. Same thing with REST. You can come in through REST. You can insert, update, and delete data through REST and go out through MQTT. In other words, you can insert a record using REST and send a message over MQTT, or get that data into ThingWorx, or go in through REST and come out through REST, or insert through REST and get the data out through SQL, or vice versa. Put the data in through SQL, query the data through SQL, or get it through REST, or get it through ThingWorx, or get it through MQTT. You can insert a record through SQL, and it will send an MQTT message. That's what FairCom Edge does automatically. But there's more. I could go in through any of these protocols on the left, say SQL, insert a record, and I could go out through more than one protocol. So I'm not limited to just going in through SQL and going out MQTT. I could send it to all of them. Or I could come in through REST or OPC UA or MQTT and have any of those go in, or maybe all of those go in. and all going out through MQTT. Or all of them could be coming in and all of them can be going out. You're not limited to one in and one out. Any can come in, any can go out. That makes FairCom EDGE very flexible to integrate any protocol to any other protocol, or many protocols to many other protocols. And it's all automatic. The bridging is automatic. You don't have to write any code. Next, we have automatic data transformation, conversion, aggregation, and delivery. And it's all configuration driven. FairCom EDGE automatically transforms, converts, aggregates data, and then of course delivers it across all those protocols. So here's an example. You send JSON data in, say over MQTT, or through REST, or through JSON RPC, and that data automatically is stored in the database. It can be stored and forward out to REST API or SQL to any other protocol. But notice JSON data is coming in, and I'm talking about SQL data going out. There's a conversion that can convert JSON data to table data, and it's automatic. That's really powerful, and there's easy configuration to make that happen. Here's an example of where you're going to have data in your tables. So, for example, here's a table with rows and columns. And over here, that data is going out through MQTT. Now, you can't send a table across to MQTT. MQTT wants JSON. So FairCom EDGE automatically converts table data to JSON, and it automatically converts table data to send it to ThingWorks. Here's an example of how we can convert JSON directly into SQL tables. So here you can see over here on the left, I have a number, which is a floating point number, 15.44. And notice in the table, we've defined the table with special features to be an integer. So we automatically will truncate. We have capabilities to convert floating point to integers automatically without code, just configuration. Same thing, a Boolean could come in as true in JSON, but then be stored as a 1 or 0 in a bit field. It could come in as a date. This is 2021, February 17th. Notice the date format in the table is February 17th, 2021, a different format. Auto conversion between date formats. Lots of ways to convert binary data. We can send images or PDFs or anything you want, and you can encode it as base 64 or hexadecimal or an array of numbers in JSON. And we'll automatically convert it to true binary values in the column in the table. Here's an example of a complex JSON document where we've nested data. So here you can see we've got an array of objects nested inside the JSON. Well, that won't fit in a table. It actually, in SQL, requires two tables. Well, FairCom EDGE will automatically convert nested data to multiple tables. And it does it intelligently and easily. And a little configuration, you can change the defaults, or no configuration, and it just works automatically. And here's an example of doing rolling averages. You can send the same data through multiple MQTT messages, like multiple JSON messages containing a temperature. Like here's 2 temperatures. And FairCom EDGE can be configured to create rolling averages so that you can, and you can also do mins and maxes and all kinds of statistics. So you can do your averages and your lows or your highs and etc. and keep running values of these. And these are stored as actual data in tables, and you can control how long they're stored and what the time window is for the rolling averages. So you control all that with simple configuration. And then FairCom EDGE makes that available to be sent out through MQTT or other protocols to come in and gather the data, like REST. So as a summary, everyone needs more data so we can reduce costs and have better designs, better processes, better lifespan for equipment, fewer defects, reduce our labor, and dynamically customize our factories, be able to reshape the product lines very quickly because we have a modular plug-and-play integration system. That's what FairCom EDGE provides. The problem is data is expensive to do all this. It's expensive to have developers write code to collect and transform and deliver data and bridge across all those protocols. But FairCom EDGE does all this automatically because it collects data at the source, it transforms with low code, it delivers anywhere, and it bridges across those protocols. And it can go from the cloud to the edge to the cloud, you name it. So FairCom EDGE makes data integration inexpensive and fast. So visit us online at faircom.com and look at our Edge products. And you can email me at mike.bowers@faircom.com with any questions. We're very happy to see how FairCom EDGE can help you with your IoT adventure. Thank you.